This is Prepping for Survival. Disaster Emergency Preparedness for Disaster Survival. By Spencer Daly. Narrated by Matt Boyer. Introduction. No one wants to think about the unthinkable. That is, after all, why we call it the unthinkable. However, the fact is that disasters can and do happen. Whether it's a natural disaster like a hurricane or an earthquake, or a man-made disaster like war or political upheaval, or something almost unimaginable like complete economic or societal collapse, you have to think about what you would do if it were to come to pass. You probably think that these kinds of cataclysmic events aren't terribly likely, and you'd be right to think so. However, anything can happen, and if some kind of catastrophic event does occur, it won't do to be a Pollyanna. If you're a believer in Murphy's Law, and you should be, you know, at least at the very back of your mind, that you need to be prepared for the worst-case scenario. This isn't to say that you can't be optimistic, but you should be prepared for the worst thing that could possibly happen by simultaneously hoping for the best. If you're fortunate, actually, if all of us are fortunate, then you may never need the information contained in this book. None of us hope for disaster, but the possibility of disaster is something that we simply can't ignore. To tell ourselves that it can't happen here, wherever here may happen to be in your case, is, to put it bluntly, dangerous. Forewarned is forearmed, particularly in the case of some kind of catastrophic event. When you know what to do to keep yourself and those close to you going through even the direst of circumstances, knowledge can make all the difference between survival and death. We're not trying to alarm you, it's simply a fact. You need to know how to react and, just as importantly, how to prepare to survive when your usual means of meeting the basic needs are no longer available. Sarah had always considered herself a reasonable person. She wasn't the type to believe in doomsday prophecies or stockpile years' worth of supplies in a secret underground bunker. She and her husband, Mark, lived a comfortable life in the suburbs with their 2 kids, Emma and Jake. They paid their bills on time, went to work, helped with homework, and occasionally watched the news, though most of the time it was just background noise. Disasters happened, sure, but not here. That was before the storm. It started with a power outage. The lights flickered once, twice, and then the house went dark. At first, Sarah thought it was a temporary thing, maybe a blown transformer down the street. But when she glanced outside, she saw the entire neighborhood was swallowed in darkness. The streetlights, the houses, even the blinking traffic signals at the intersection beyond their cul-de-sac, everything was out. "Mom, my tablet's not working," Emma called from the living room. Mark checked his phone, but there was no service. No Wi-Fi, no calls, nothing. A growing unease settled in Sarah's stomach. A neighbor, Mr. Reynolds, knocked on their door. "Do you have any idea what's going on?" he asked, flashlight in hand. "My truck won't start. And neither will my wife's car." Sarah exchanged a glance with Mark. A power outage was one thing, but cars not working? That was different. Hours passed, and the situation only worsened. With no electricity, food in the fridge began to spoil. Their home's heating system failed, and as the cold crept in, Sarah bundled the kids in extra layers. They checked their emergency supplies, some canned goods, bottled water, a few flashlights. But it wasn't nearly enough. By the second day, rumors started spreading among the neighbors. Some speculated it was a cyber attack, others whispered about an EMP strike. Sarah didn't care what caused it. What mattered was that society was unraveling fast. On the 3rd night, the first signs of desperation appeared. A group of strangers roamed the neighborhood, checking for empty homes. A break-in happened down the street, and the sounds of shouting and shattering glass sent a wave of panic through the community. Mark secured their doors and windows, but Sarah knew they weren't truly safe. They had no way to communicate with the outside world, no means to cook proper meals, and only a dwindling stock of food. They had never thought to prepare for something like this. By the end of the week it was clear, help wasn't coming anytime soon. As she huddled with her children in the candlelit living room, Sarah realized that she had made a critical mistake. She had assumed that emergencies
Sample complete. Ready to continue?